adventures of Biggles. At the aerodrome headquarters of the Air Police, Biggles and his friends are finding life extremely dull after their exciting adventures in Brazil. A week after their return to work, they're filling in time yarning in Biggles' office, when Algy, glancing through the window, sees a strange figure approaching across the tarmac. It's a portly, middle-aged Chinese. He's obviously looking for the office building. Biggles recalls to Algy an adventure they shared before the war, an adventure which was also shared by Lai Chai, the Chinese pirate who is now coming towards them.
A pirate, eh? Oh, things are looking up.
But what would he be doing in England?
That's what I'm wondering. There used to be a price on Lai Chai's head. He's asking to be arrested by showing his face here.
I'd hate to see that happen. He's a thoroughgoing old scoundrel. But I always have a spot in my heart for Lai Chai. No one's ever tricked us as smartly as he did.
Oh, that was obviously because we weren't with you. I mean to say, what hope had you and Biggles waffling about the globe like a couple of innocents? You were positively asking for some blighter to bite you for a fiver.
Oh, we weren't bitten in that way. As a matter of fact, financially, we came out of the episode very well. Lai Chai can be quite generous, particularly with other people's money.
Perhaps you'd better brief us about him, Biggles. If he's coming in, it'd be as well to know something about him.
It was in 34, 35, I forget which. Algy and I were on a charter job flying an amphibian from Penang to Rangoon. We were just off the coast of Malaya when we spotted a raft floating on the sea. There was a body on it, so we went down. You dragged him aboard, didn't you, Algy?
Yes. It was a Chinaman. He wasn't dead, but he was all in. He said his name was Ho Sing and that his junk had been sunk by the notorious pirate Lai Chai. Biggles wanted to push on to Rangoon with him, but he talked us into landing him on an island in the Magui archipelago.
Yes, he offered us $5,000 to drop him there. But when he told us his crew had been dumped on the island, we agreed to drop him there for nothing.
Now, what did I say? Just a couple of bally innocents. If there'd been a Lissy around, you wouldn't have done it for nothing, by Jove.
We didn't, as it turned out. When we left him, he handed us a packet which wasn't to be opened until we reached Rangoon. Wrapped up in a note were a pair of superb pink pearls. We sold them later for 8,000 quid.
What was in the note?
A message of thanks, and it was signed Lai Chai.
You'd picked up the pirate himself.
Yes, exactly. He tricked us beautifully. We learned later that he'd been captured by a British sloop, but had escaped by jumping overboard. And we, very kindly, took him right to his hideout and to complete safety. Well, there, now you have all our criminal past.
But why should he come here? After that, you'd think he'd keep well away from you and Algy.
Yes, you'd think so. But he's a strange man, this Lai Chai, and he certainly doesn't lack courage. Now, you should have your answer in a moment, Bet. Come in.
Good afternoon, Inspector. And to my esteemed friend Lacey.
Good afternoon, Lai. This is an unexpected meeting after all these years.
And I hope not an unpleasant one. For long I have cherished memories of my English benefactors.
We haven't forgotten you either.
Please, my friend, do not hold against me that very necessary subterfuge I practiced. Had I told you my real name, what would you have done?
What we may have to do now. We'd have handed you to the authorities.
Of course. You are English. Always you must consider your duty. But before you are too zealous, I humbly request that you hear my story and my offer.
You won't bribe us with pearls this time, Lai Chai.
I hope the memory does not rankle too much, Lacey. But there will be no pearls in this transaction. Inspector, these matters would perhaps be better discussed in private.
Don't worry, you can trust my friends, Lai. These are the members of my squadron of air police.
Police? When I heard that you and Lacey had become policemen, my courage wilted. And it was only by the greatest determination that I forced myself to continue my journey. Of all people, it is the police who least understand Lai Chai.
Then why come to us?
Because you, of all Englishmen, may understand him best. I have a fondness for your race, but generally they do not treat me well. You, on the other hand, showed me the greatest of kindness.
Yes, well, I think the less said about that episode, the better. Now then, what's your business with me?
It is with your country through you. I wish to sell to England 5,000 tons of rubber, perhaps more.
What's that?
The price for this is that my past transgressions be forgotten.
Now listen, what's all this about, Lai? Why should you suddenly want to change your ways?
I grow old, my friend. The time has come when I wish to settle quietly. There is a villa in Singapore which pleases my eye. But it would be inconvenient for me to become a lawful citizen if I were forever hiding from the guns of your navy and the suspicious eyes of your police. After a long and active life, one earnestly yearns for peace. You too will desire peace when you have attained my years.
What's this about the rubber? Why should England be interested in that?
In a world shrinking from the constant threat of war, what country is not interested in rubber? To maintain your armaments at the necessary level of strength, your government must have all the rubber it can obtain. I offer to it 5,000 tons.
It's quite a lot. Where did you get it?
I stole it, my friend.
Sizzling sausages.
I beg your pardon.
Oh, don't bother, old buccaneer. Just burble on and don't mind me. Only keep your peepers off Harriet. We Lissies are rather touchy about people trying to pinch Harriet.
Please, Inspector, I do not understand.
Listen, do you seriously expect the British government to accept stolen goods?
When they were stolen from the Japanese during the recent war, yes. I am well known in the Malayan Peninsula, and there are many natives who do my bidding. While the barbarians occupied the country, I had these men steal rubber and bring it to an island which was under my control. I had planned to offer it for use against the Japanese, but unfortunately the war ended.
Has the rubber been on this island ever since?
It is still there. I had thought to offer it to my own government, but events in China made such a gesture impracticable. For 5 years I have wondered about its disposal, until my desire for peace prompted this present offer.
5,000 tons of crude rubber for nothing. That's not a bad offer.
Do not be mistaken, my friend. It will not be delivered unless my price is paid. The complete withdrawal of all charges held against me by the British governments.
I see. What makes you think I won't arrest you now and make you answer those charges?
I came to you, Bigglesworth, my friend, not to the Inspector of Police. I have faith that you will not arrest me.
I won't. At least not until this has been investigated and the government has decided what is to be done.
There will be no investigation. My men have been instructed to allow no strangers near the island. You have the word of Lai Chai that the rubber is there and may be collected immediately I authorize it.
Very well, Lai Chai. You've come to me in good faith. I'll treat your proposition that way. I can do nothing about it personally, but I'll pass it on to my superiors at Scotland Yard as soon as you've given me the details.
It's preposterous. I refuse to be a party to it, Biggles. The man's an arrogant rogue, a thief, probably a murderer.
But according to his lights, he's an honourable man, and I think he means this offer honourably.
Honourably? He's trying to bribe us, that's what he's doing. He's probably committed some foul crime, and he's trying to escape the consequences by bargaining with His Majesty's government. You've admitted yourself he's a trickster.
And I don't think there's a trick in this. And surely the point is that the rubber's there on an island in the Magui archipelago.
Which island?
He wouldn't tell me. I'm sorry, sir, but I believe him. He doesn't want a destroyer barging in there and arresting his men. He'll give the information when he's assured of our good faith.
Well, whoever heard of good faith in dealing with a pirate?
There's 5,000 tons of rubber waiting on an island only a few miles from one of the world's worst trouble spots. If England doesn't take it, you know what will happen to it.
Yes, I suppose one of those confounded Asiatic rebel groups will collar it.
And either use it themselves or pass it on to England's enemies.
We mustn't allow that to happen. Perhaps I'd better contact the Admiralty and have them send a gunboat to confiscate it.
No, I promised Lai Chai that wouldn't happen.
What's that?
Or rather, I gave him my word that his proposition would be given consideration before any action was taken.
You overstepped the mark there, didn't you, old man? These aren't matters for you or me to decide.
Then you'll pass it on, sir. Now, I knew you wouldn't try to block it yourself.
Oh, confound you, man. All right, Biggles, I'll I'll have a word with your Lai Chai, and if I believe his story, I'll pass it on to the departments concerned.
Oh, I don't know if he'll come here, sir. He has an unholy fear of the police.
He'll come here or he'll be arrested as the pirate he is. That's my last word. Find him and have him in my office at 8 o'clock tonight.
I say, the place is very dark, isn't it? Are all Limehouse buildings like this?
Most of them are a bit weird and wonderful, half Oriental and half English.
Bloke's liable to have his blinking throat cut if he doesn't watch out. Stay close, Harriet. We Lissies must stick together in these moments of crisis.
Oh, first floor, this is it. Room number 13, isn't it?
The number of doom. I knew it.
Don't be silly, Bertie. It's only a Chinese lodging house. You're as safe as in Biggles' flat.
I say, someone light a match. I can't see these darn numbers at all.
Oh, this is 12. Well, 13 will be...
Awas. Apa. What do you want? Where you come here?
Oh, sizzling sausages. It's the Phantom of the Opera.
I don't know if it's any concern of yours, but I'm looking for Mr. Lai Chai.
Lai Chai. What do you want with Lai Chai? Apa, who are you?
Now, I say, look here, Phantom Elbean, you're obstructing the jolly old law from doing its duty, don't you know? We're police officers, you know.
Police. Tita, no, you never get Lai Chai. I yet kill, mati, kill all police.
Look out, Bertie, his knife!
Baked potatoes!
Bertie stumbles backwards under the native's fierce assault. Can he escape injury? Who is this huge man who so savagely protects Lai Chai? Don't miss the exciting developments in the next chapter of The Air Adventures of Biggles. The Air Adventures of Biggles. Pat and Algie leave for Singapore to arrange for the planes and equipment necessary for the removal of the rubber. At once, Lai Chai's men start to work floating logs onto the lake and cutting boards for the construction of the runway. The work is well ahead by afternoon, and Biggles is very pleased, until a strange aircraft is seen flying overhead. It is patrolling backwards and forwards over the lake.
By Jove, chaps, it must be a rebel kite, what? Who else would be interested in this Bally Island?
The markings are Indian, are they not?
Oh, well, that doesn't mean a thing. We've struck many cases of shady customers changing their aircraft markings to suit themselves. No, I'm inclined to agree with Bertie. This bandit leader, Fire Tack, is already poking his nose into our affairs. I wish that dash sawmill hadn't been going. You know, we might have heard it coming.
And what, you clunk? There isn't a darn thing we could have done. Algie's tootled off in our only kite, and there's no ack-ack on the island. We're defenseless against the blighter.
It is well that the landing platform is not yet built. At least he cannot damage that with his bomb.
But he could drop a few eggs on the sawmill. That could jigger us.
He isn't a bomber. I don't think he'll be dropping any eggs. Notice the way he's casting over the lake?
Sizzling sausages, yes. The blighter's taking photographs. I say, what a nerve. This is a prohibited Bally area.
Yeah, so he doesn't appear to recognize that. Neither will his boss.
It is apparent that the men Pambu who attacked Lissy and Miss Kendall last night reported our activities to Fire Tack. And this is the result.
Photographs for more detailed information.
He's satisfied by the look of it. He's turning for the mainland. The swine must have exposed about 10 plates.
They won't tell him much. It'll be obvious that there's some sort of activity going on around the lake, but Fire Tuck will be a genius if he can work out what it is.
Then you are not concerned about this flight?
No, on the contrary, Lai, I'm very much concerned. There isn't very much we can do about it. This proves conclusively the interest of the rebels. It's virtually an open invitation to stand by for attack, or at least for interference. But the question is, how will it come and when?
I do not think immediately, my friend. This man, Firetak, is an Oriental. He is cunning. He will realize that we are suspicious of Pambu, and also that we have seen his plane. His strategy now will be to lull us into a sense of security, and to attack when he assumes we are off our guard.
Now I know why you were such a successful pirate, old sausage. That's the way you used to work, what?
I have been known to employ such tactics. It will surprise me greatly if there is an attack within the next few days, Biggles. But after that...
A fat lot of use that is. We'll never shift this rubber in a few days. It'll take us weeks.
When Algy comes back tomorrow with the nails and equipment, we'll finish the runway and start the freight carriers in operation. We can do no more than get cracking as quickly as possible.
I brought back some camouflage paint too, Biggles. It occurred to me we might colour up the runway to make it difficult to spot from the air.
Now, you're a bit late for that, old sausage. The blighters have already been over taking photographs.
Have they, by Jove?
Nevertheless, we'll use that, Algy. We can paint the planks to merge with the jungle. Then if it's photographed repeatedly, Firetak may notice that the lake is growing smaller. It'll help to confuse the issue. And we must grab at anything that will keep the rebels guessing. How about Raymond? Did you contact him?
Yes, last night. He's very happy with our scheme and authorised us to go ahead. He's ordered RAF Singapore to cooperate by supplying us with stores and equipment and to supervise the unloading of the rubber.
Well, they could send up a squadron of fighters, what?
No, that's art. We can borrow whatever we want, with the exception of warlike stores. We aren't allowed to cook up a major scrap.
Well, that means we have nothing for our defence but a handful of machine guns and rifles. Well, what the blazes do they think we're going to do if there's a large-scale attack?
In your list of armaments, you did not include the parangs of my natives. You will find that these knives can be most excellently used in battle.
We'll leave that question until we see the attack shaving. How about kites? What's the drill there, Algy?
I've taken over 2 Bristol freighters, and they're waiting to be ferried across. Pat's checking them over while she's waiting word from us.
2? Sizzling sausages, there are about 5,000 tons of that bally rubber.
All right. The RAF have ordered 4 more machines to be sent down from Hong Kong. They'll be ready for us in a couple of days.
Oh, that's excellent, Algy. If we can have 6 freighters running day and night and keep the amphibian for liaison work, we'll make quite an inroad into that stockpile.
Providing that there isn't an attack.
Oh, we must move as much as we can before the attack, that's all. Now, Algy...
Tuan, there is a man...
Why do you interrupt while I talk with the Ingers, Sayat? I tell you this is not to be. We have important matters to
He
discuss.
seems excited about something. Better see what he wants, though.
Well, what is this you wish to tell of a man?
Oh, Tuan, a man comes to the island. He is a stranger. We watch from hill and see prow come across the water. We wait on beach. Catch him quick time.
Must be a pal of that horrible sausage Pambu, what?
Oh, no, Tuan, Tida, he says not. He say bring message for Light Chai.
Who would send a message to Lai Chai?
No, Tuan, he come from Shanxi, he come fast.
Shanxi? From Major Marling?
Yeah, Tuan, yeah. Marling, Tuan, tell him break arm pushing prow through water. Tell him quiet past Kampong, so rebel don't see. Tell him must see Light Chai in ingress.
He wants us too. Lai, who is this Major Marling?
I shall explain in a moment. Ayat, tell this messenger to come to me.
He say these things lie. I not know if he say true. Men guard, watch him close.
You may remove your guard. If he is a spy, I shall discover it. Have him come to me at once.
Oh, Algy, you can go with Ayat and hand over your stores to him, will you? The nails and the wire have come, Ayat. I wish them to be used on the floating platforms immediately.
Oh, yeah, Biggles, Tuan, yeah, I yet understand.
Good. When you're through with him, come back, will you, Algy? I'll have some more work for you.
I'll be back. And if there's any fun tied up with this Major Marling bloke, I want to be in it.
Many years ago, Major Marling was an officer of the Indian Army. He fell in love with the daughter of the Rajah in whose province he was serving. And without receiving permission from either the army authorities or her father, the 2 young people were married. The Rajah was furious, and the army was in a most embarrassing position. The girl was banished, and the major was cashiered.
Oh, I say, that was a bit bally tough. If the young trouts were in love with each other...
The authorities felt it wiser to act in this way rather than incur the enmity of a powerful ruler. However, Major Marling felt as you do. He and his bride cut themselves off from their people and retired to a property in the wild jungle country of the upper Pakchan River. He developed the area and in time there grew a flourishing colony in this place.
Would this be Shanxi?
It is Shanxi. the only kampong or village of any size on the river. Among other things, he developed a large rubber plantation and a ruby mine, both of which have brought him great wealth.
Oh, he could thumb his nose at the blighters in India who sacked him, what?
He showed no wish to do so. In fact, until the recent war, he grew further and further away from his English background and lived more in the style of a native ruler. His wife died, but she gave him a son who is called Prime Lala. The two wield absolute authority in the Shanxi area.
You said until the war. Did he go back to the army then?
No. Naturally, the Japanese occupied his property, but he and Lala escaped into the jungle, and from there conducted a most successful guerrilla campaign against the interlopers. It was during this time that I came to know him.
Sounds a queer sort of bloke. How does he feel about the rebels?
As I do, he dislikes them. Strangely enough, they have not interfered with him as yet. Shanxi is near the extremity of the territory which they dominate, and the Major is perfectly willing to defend it against any aggression.
But what would the old sausage want with us? I mean to say, dash it all, if he's cut himself off from things English...
I see his men waiting to be admitted. We shall discover his requirements. Masakaja, laki.
Apa khabar, Tuan?
Kabar baik. Cakap Inggeris.
Ya, percakapan Inggris bagus.
You will tell us in English. Well, what does my friend Major Marling wish with me?
He send greeting to Lai Chai. He send greeting to English.
Yes. How do you know we were here?
Spies in rebel kampong hear much talk of English on Dolphin Island. Tell Marling, Tuan. He say want English to go to Shanxi, talk rubber.
Good grief, he knows about that too.
Now it is clear to me. Your arrival here is not unexpected to Major Marling. Before I traveled to England, I acquainted him with my desire to sell the rubber to your government. He was most interested. I feel there is a possibility he wishes to conduct a similar transaction.
Sizzling sausages, we haven't started to move yours yet. We couldn't handle any more of the bally stuff.
Why couldn't we?
Well, hang it all, they'll be in the rebels.
Look, fellas, we're anticipating trouble on this job. I know that the most frightful snags are likely to crop up, but until they do, let's get as much done as we can. We'll prepare for the worst, but assume that it isn't going to happen.
Marling, old sausage, here we come.
You will confer with the Major as he wishes?
Yes. This man can tell his master that we'll definitely go to Shanxi as soon as it's possible. Can you take us there, Loin?
Some method of transporting you will be arranged. You have heard our answer. Give our greetings to Marling, Tuan. Tell him that we shall be honored to accept his invitation. Selamat Balaya.
These things I tell, selamat tinggal.
I agree with Bertie. If we take on this extra rubber, we'll be biting off more than we can chew. I reckon we should leave it well alone, Biggles.
If the transshipping of it proves too difficult, we shall. But we'll visit Shanxi and make sure that Marling wants something. And providing the rebels keep away, we'll see what we can do when we've cleared away the rubber from the island here.
Well, they won't keep away. I'll bet they interfere before we're halfway through the job.
Lai Chai, more boat, we see more boat.
What's that? What sort of boats?
One boat, Lotus, it come this way. Plenty men aboard, men of fire attack.
The Lotus is a launch of 50 tons which the rebels use as a patrol boat. It once belonged to a trading company, but fire attack commandeered it.
50 tons? Well, that could hold quite a decent raiding party.
You were wrong, Lion. Fire attack isn't bothering to lull us into a sense of false security. He's going to test our strength right away. It seems we're to meet the first of his attacks.
An attack at this stage could foil the operation before even 1 ton of rubber has been moved. Does the approaching launch really threaten the island? Listen for the thrills in the next chapter of The Air Adventures of Biggles. The Air Adventures of Biggles. the problem of transporting Lai Chai's rubber from Dolphin Island seems an insuperable one. After a fruitless conference, Biggles adjourns the discussion until morning, and Bertie and Pat stroll into the moonlit jungle to clear their heads. There's a shadowy movement amongst the trees, and a malevolent face glares at them from behind a bush. The native dodges as Bertie tries to grab him and leaps at Bertie from behind. The two men, struggling fiercely, tumble to the ground.
He's like a belly tiger. You can't help me. Trying to get a knife.
I'm trying to grab it. He's threshing around so much I have it. If I can only twist it from his hand, all right?
Keep at it, old dear. I'm getting to his throat.
Oh! He threw me off.
Sizzling sausages.
Well, look out, Bertie, look out, his knife.
Hold old Ayat.
Baked potatoes, what's happened? The blight is running for his life.
Wait, Twan, wait. Ayat get Pambu.
But hold on, old chocolate box.
Ayat get him, Twan, safe now.
I'm a bit flummoxed. Do you know what's going on, old dear?
I know the native threw me off just as I thought I had the knife, and then he brought it down to your throat. That's when Ayat appeared.
And the blighter simply let go and bolted. I may be wrong, but I don't think he likes the old Ayat sausage.
He's terrified of him. There was absolute panic in his scream when he saw Ayat.
Mind you, I don't blame him. I've been nearly throttled by both of the trouts, and I'd rather have this bloke any day.
Wonder who he is, and why he attacked you.
Well, Ayat should be able to trot for some information on that subject. Look here, let's follow him and see if he needs any help.
They headed for the beach, along this path.
Oh, what ho there, old coffee bean. Any trouble on the horizon? What's happened to my old pal, old one-eyed Teddy?
Pambu escape.
Pambu, is that his name?
Pambu in Malay, Pambu means snake.
Most frightfully belly-apt, if I may say so. How did he get away?
In prow, native canoe. He have prow on beach. I had come fast, but Pambu on water quick time. He go to fire tack.
What's this Friar Tuck nonsense?
Oh, no. Fire tack, chief of rebels. He live Pak Chan River. Pambu go to him in prow, go quick time.
You mean Pambu is a spy for this rebel leader?
Pambu Yahat, bad man. One time work for Lai Chai, then steal money, very bad. Lai Chai make Pambu leave island. Pambu try to kill Lai Chai. Oh, Ayat save. Throw Pambu in prow, push prow in the water.
Oh, so that's why the sausage is scared of you, what? You've manhandled him once already.
Oh, yeah. Pambu Yahat. Ayat not like see Pambu on Dolphin Island.
No, I should think not. I mean to say, if the blight is liable to pinch our hard-earned shekels and bump us off in our sleep, Friar Tuck's welcome to him. We don't want the sausage.
Do you think he came back for revenge, Ayat? Or was he really spying for this man, Friar Tuck?
Ayat not know. But Pambu come again. Ayat kill. Put on Kapala. Mati. Chop off his head.
Oh, yes, you do that, old bean. And tell me when the performance is going to start so that I can stay on the other side of the island. Oh, well, the blighter quite ruined our little moonlit stroll, Pat. But he's gone now, so I suggest we toddle back to our cots.
Yes, we may as well. Well, I hope that's the last we've seen of him. He should be a spy.
Now, don't you start upsetting that pretty little noddle of yours. The blighter came back to cut Lai Chai's throat. Or maybe Ayat.
Ayat cut throat.
Yes, absolutely. Well, it was sheer belly accident that we stumbled on him. He had such a scare when the old Phantom of the Opera here leapt at him that we'll never see him again. Mark the word of Alicia, old dear.
I hope you're right. However, there's no point in losing sleep over it. We'll need all our wits at the conference in the morning. Let's go back to the bungalow.
Now, before you start throwing your ideas, let's fully appreciate the situation.
That's easy. There are 5,000 tons of crude rubber to be moved to British port. That needs ships, and we haven't any.
So, we must use planes.
But Biggles...
I'll go through the objections, Alger, so for Pete's sake, don't blatter with them.
Oh, sorry. Just that it seems so impossible.
Yes, frankly, it does to me, too. That's why I'm a bit crotchety this morning. However, we've been assigned the job, and somehow we must do it. All right, we must use planes. The big complication is that this island is almost completely surrounded by rebel-occupied territories. Apparently, there's a very strong force at the mouth of the Pakchan River, less than 20 miles away.
And the rebels know about the rubber and may pop in at any minute to grab it. Yes, we know.
That's an assumption, but we must consider the possibility.
And if that man who attacked Bertie last night was really a spy...
That's also an assumption, Pat. But with these factors pressing us, we haven't much time. That rubber must be moved fast, which means not only planes, but big ones.
And plenty of them.
Yes, as many as we can handle anyway. Now, the snag with planes is that the only landing field on the island is the lake. So that limits us to marine craft.
Which won't carry heavy enough loads. Biggles, we're going round in circles.
We're looking at the problem squarely, that's all, Alger. Well, there it is. It's a deuce of a situation, but we must handle it. All right, now you can toss in your suggestions. Oh, like that, is it?
I am most contrite that I should bring you here and have so few facilities to offer. You see, I had reckoned on using ships, perhaps flying boats. I have ample men to handle the loading. There is the sawmill to cut timber for crating. With such aids, I had not thought it a problem.
The sawmill.
All right. He said the sawmill.
Sizzling sausages, it'll work.
The sun's too hot for him in the tropics. You shouldn't have brought him, Biggles.
Quiet. We must have absolute quiet. The cogs are turning. The Lissy brain is about to give birth to an idea.
The Lissy brain's becoming more addled than ever, if you ask me. Sawmills.
Logs of wood. Whopping great logs of wood. Lashed down together down one end of the lake. Planks nailed on top of them to make a platform. I see it. I see it all.
You mean...
Make our own runway. A wooden one floating on the lake.
Abracadabra, tantivy, tally-ho, and up the Lissys. We have spoken. Come on, Harriet. We'll retire into our inconspicuous corner and let the jolly old mastermind thrash it out.
That is indeed the product of a mastermind. But will it work?
A floating runway. It sounds crazy,
But is it? It was a sheer fluke that Bertie thought of it, but why not? Those teak logs are enormous. They'd carry any weight we put on them.
And we could use land planes, big freight carriers. It's the answer, Biggles.
By Jove, I think it is. Yes, I agree, it sounds crazy, but we could float the logs into position, lash them tightly, and then cover them with flat boards.
It'll do me. I take back everything I've said about the clunk. He's a brilliant clunk.
This is so sudden.
Build a landing field like that, and I'll land a kite on it, Biggles, any time you like.
Yes, me too.
Could we build it, Lai? It'll need a tremendous amount of timber.
There are enough logs to cover the entire lake. The sawmill will operate 24 hours a day to cut the necessary planks. But there will be nails, hammers, many tools that will be needed.
Well, we can get those from Singapore. What do you say, Biggles? Will we settle for this and get cracking at once?
Yes, definitely. Alger, you and Pat can leave for Singapore immediately. Take the Wanderer.
That'll leave you without a kite.
It doesn't matter about that. We'll have other things to do. Put a call through to Raymond and have him authorize the loan of half a dozen transport planes from the RAF, the biggest you can get.
Half a dozen, but how shall we fly them all?
Pat can fly one back. We'll load it, and the 2 pilots will return with it to Singapore. They'll leave it there to be unloaded and fly 2 empty kites here. They'll be loaded and take 4 men back, and so on. You see, we'll work a shuttle service with the empty planes and leave the Singapore blokes to do the unloading. That'll reduce the time factor for us.
There's one snag, Biggles. If we leave now, we may be back from Singapore sometime tomorrow. Will the runway be ready?
I have 100 men to work on the building of it, but I shall need the nails.
All right. You come back as soon as you can, Alger. Pat can stand by in Singapore until we send word that we're ready. Roger?
Roger. Now we're really starting to move.
It's movement all the time from now on. Come on, Lai. Let's rouse these men of yours and start them to work. Because that sawmill's going to hum as it's never hummed before.
Well, are you satisfied with the labors of my men?
By gosh, we ought to be. It's already beginning to take shape down there. By this time tomorrow, they'll have half the lake covered with logs.
Yes, you're doing an excellent job, Lai. You're to be congratulated on having such a team.
I pay them well and treat them as my friends. They are willing to die if I should require it of them.
Well, I hope it won't come to that. Although if those rebels become inquisitive...
I say, it's just so well that blighter Pambu toddled across last night instead of tonight. Old Friar Tuck would be most frightfully barely interested in all these goings-on, what?
He'd be interested in our presence here anyway. I hope Pambu wasn't a spy.
He is not a man to be trusted, Biggles. It would be well to assume the worst from his visit to the island.
Still, all he could have found out was that there are white men here and maybe a plane. That wouldn't tell them much.
Yes, it would sharpen their interest, and we don't want that. This operation will depend on the floating runway. And if the rebels learn of that and perhaps send over a bomber with some eggs...
Sizzling sausages! There's a kite up there now. We didn't hear it for the noise of the mill.
Maybe it is Lacey.
No. No, by Jove, that's a stranger. And he isn't merely flying over, he's reconnoitering the island.
It's a rebel kite, I'll bet. That sausage Pambu reported back to Friar Tuck, and the blighter sent over this kite.
But what's the object? I wonder what the pilot's planning to do.
The four men stare apprehensively at the plane circling above the lake. Is it an enemy? Will the island be attacked before the operation has even started? Be listening for the next thrilling chapter of The Air Adventures of Biggles. The Air Adventures of Biggles. The British government has agreed to accept Lai Chai's offer of 5,000 tons of rubber and deputes Biggles and his squadron of air police to collect it. On the way to a reconnaissance of the island where it is stored, the amphibian flies over the northern sector of the Mergui archipelago. On one of the islands, a small settlement attracts Algy's attention, and he persuades Ginger to fly lower for an inspection. Almost at once, there's a puff of smoke near the wingtip. There's an anti-aircraft gun below, and the plane is flying into a field of flak.
Lift her, Ginge. Gain height. They'll get us at this altitude. Swine! Why the blazes are they shooting at us? That doesn't matter. They're doing it. Still higher. We're a sitting shot here. We would beat a good gunners, you mean? Those blighters should have dragged us down minutes ago. Yes, they're wild enough. We'll be out of range in a minute.
Hey, what's going on, Ginge? What's that flak I saw?
My word it was. There's a trigger-happy swine with an ack-ack gun on the island below. Thought he'd get in some practice.
Well, Lai Chai suggests we keep well above these islands. Quite a few are held by rebels. We'll steer clear and mind our own business.
If we're going to run through flak when we shift the rubber, it'll be nice, won't it?
I doubt if anything on this operation is going to be nice, Alger. So far, I haven't a clue to how we'll get the rubber out.
Do you think the rebels will try to stop us?
If they know what we're up to, I'm certain they will. After all, England isn't the only country interested in rubber.
And yet she sends a virtually unarmed force into gangster country to get it. What happens if we're attacked?
I've no idea, old boy. The only thing we must remember is that we do nothing that might start a general flare-up.
Oh, that's all very well, Biggles, but we can't hold off an army, a navy, and an air force on our own. If the blighters do attack...
If they do attack, we'll have a darn good try, Ginge. Now then, I'll take over for the rest of the trip. You can send Lai Chai forward to guide me into his island.
There is Dolphin Island. Now, my friend, you possess the information your navy has sought for some years. The whereabouts of Lai Chai's headquarters.
Yes, information which is no longer of any use, except to collectors of rubber. I say, how does it feel to know that you don't have to hide from your enemies now, Lai?
It gives me a feeling of great calm and well-being. There is such warmth in me that I look even at an Englishman with benignity.
I say that.
But let me not be blinded by my good fortune. There are still enemies of Lai Chai. There are still many who would seek out his hiding place, and more particularly, the rubber which is stored there.
Rebels?
Yes. Many times have these scum made overtures to me and to my men, and always they have been spurned. My calling, the obtaining of goods for trade, of recent years has been plied against these bandits who hide beneath the cloak of a political movement. Therefore, their memories of Lai Chai are not happy ones.
Lai, why did you spurn them? You could have been a powerful man if you'd linked with the bandits.
I am a man of old China, my friend. My heart is with the dignity and graciousness that has been my lands for 5,000 years. The new movements which are awakening in Asia have not that dignity and graciousness. Neither have they my heart. But enough of Lai Chai. Below is the lake on which we must land. Hidden amongst the trees on its shore is the village which is my headquarters.
I noticed the lake almost reaches a good harbor at one point. Is that what you used when your junk was afloat?
It was from there Lai Chai and his pirates committed their infamies, yes. You cannot see, but on this spit of land joining the two waters, my men are already building my new vessel.
Jove, it's all very well camouflaged, all except that big shed and the stuff beside it. That looks like a pile of lumber.
It is. But wait until we have landed. Then I shall show you everything, and you will understand what happens on Dolphin Island. There is your rubber, 5,000 tons of it. You will notice that it is especially well camouflaged. That was to hide it from the prying eyes of the Japanese, from whom it was acquired.
It beats me how you transported so much of it over here without them spotting you.
Obviously, it was not shipped as one cargo. It came to me a few pounds here, a few pounds there. When 100,000 coolies were secretly tapping trees and stealing in small quantities from the Japanese dumps, the ultimate volume, as you see, was considerable. Small packages were passed from hand to the coast, and there loaded into native canoes, into praus, into kabangs, and ferried little by little across to this most excellent storing place. The Japanese suspected nothing.
By George, you certainly had an organization working for you.
I am not without power in this area, my friend. And you must remember all the natives hated their overlords and willingly worked against them. It was because of that hatred that the Japanese learned so little of what was happening.
But the same wouldn't apply to the rebels, Lai. Amongst them there must be hundreds of men who worked on the collection of this rubber. They'd know it's here.
Ah, yes. There lies our greatest danger. Already my spies have told me there are murmurs about the confiscation of my hoard. It was for that reason I decided to arrange its immediate disposal.
I'm hanged if I can see how we're going to dispose of it. We'd need an armada of kites to shift that stuff.
Oh, we'll work that out when we've inspected all of Lai's facilities. Now I'm most interested in that shed and the lumber stored beside it. Would you take us over that, Lai?
Good grief, it's a sawmill. And all the equipment's in good shape, too.
Of course. It is used constantly. It is here my men cut the timber for the building of my junk.
But a fully equipped sawmill and all those stacks of lumber outside seems very strange on an island which is occupied by, by pirates.
Pirates have not always occupied the island, Biggles. 2 years prior to the war, an Anglo-Indian firm obtained a concession to exploit the teak which abounds on the island. They operated most successfully until Japan entered the war. When Siam and Burma were occupied, the white men were forced to escape and leave everything as it stood.
That explains why there are quite a few cut logs lying around the shores of the lake.
They had to be left. Teak will not float within 6 months of being cut. My crew and I took over the island shortly after the white men left. And as they have not since returned, I have made excellent use of their facilities.
Didn't the Japs ever interfere with you?
This is one island amongst hundreds, my friend. Neither the Japs nor the rebel forces could concern themselves with all of them.
Unless there's a particular reason, such as the rubber. Show us the rest of your establishment, Lai, and then we'll start nutting things out.
I don't think we can do it. This isn't an aerial job, it's a large-scale cargo lift. If the government can't send ships, well, I'll just have to forget about it.
I say, how about Lai's jolly old junk? When will that be finished, Hilltop?
Not for several months, I am afraid. I should have used that myself if it had been possible.
Well, the junk is out. There's too much danger of the rebels barging in before it would be in commission. We must remember that. If we don't clear this stuff, and fast, someone else will.
Well, that brings us back to planes. But it'll be an awfully long job.
Absolutely. And it'll be a jolly sight worse because we'll have to use flying boats, what? I mean to say there's nowhere on the Belly Island to land anything else.
Is there any objection to the use of flying boats? I have felt that to be the solution.
Flying boats won't carry as much as some of the big land transport jobs. A lot of the useful load is taken up with their own weight.
The rebels would be in before we move more than a few tons. They'd be as bad as waiting for the junk.
Well, where are we? We can't have ships, we can't use flying boats, and land kites are out. We might as well go home.
I'm hanged if I know, but we certainly aren't going home until that rubber's moved.
But, Biggles, if we can't move the darn stuff...
Might I suggest we leave the matter for the moment? Often when one is faced with what appears to be an insuperable problem, the solution comes not in argument and discussion, but suddenly. Frequently, as one drifts to sleep. It grows late. Perhaps in the morning?
Yes, good scheme, Lai. Yes, we'll sleep on it. Chew it over in your minds and be ready for a final discussion in the morning. From that, we'll have to find an answer.
Oh, well, with 6 mighty brains bent on the bally thing, you shall, old sausage. But we lissies refuse to be perturbed about it at the moment. It's a lovely night. How about a burble in the jungle before turning in, Pat?
It is beautiful out here, Bertie. We could enjoy it more if we didn't have so much to think about.
Don't bother about that, old darling. We lissies will think up some positively brilliant solution before breakfast. Now let's burble down here. Seems to be a sort of a track leading through to the beach.
I'm afraid Algy's right. We'll have to hand the job over to someone else. It'll hurt Biggles, but it's terrible to do that, but...
I say, old dear, where's the romance in your soul? Who wants to talk about frowsy old rubber when the moon's glinting through the trees?
Bertie, there's someone else here. I saw a movement over there.
Oh, probably a snake or a rhinoceros or something. Nothing to worry your pretty little head about.
Look! By that shrub. Look, there's a face.
Sizzling sausages.
It's ghastly. It looks like...
That's enough of that, old dear. Nothing spooky about him. Hey! Out of that sausage! Oh. No one here.
But there was, Bertie. You saw it too. That face.
I know, a horrible-looking valley thing. Like a death's head. Blighter had only one eye.
Look out! He's leaping at you, Bertie!
Sizzling sausages!
The figure that leaps at Bertie and knocks him to the ground looks weird and unworldly in the half-light. Why does he attack? And how can the flyers carry out their seemingly impossible task? Listen for the exciting developments in the next chapter of The Air Adventures of Biggles. The Air Adventures of Biggles. The Chinese pirate Lai Chai has come to Biggles with a strange proposition. If the British government will withdraw all the charges it holds against him, he will hand over 5,000 tons of crude rubber, which he stole from the Japanese during the war. In order to take Lai to a meeting with Raymond of Scotland Yard, Biggles and his friends visit Lai's quarters in Limehouse. As they approach his door, a huge, ugly native bars the way. When he learns that they are police, he draws a knife and leaps at Bertie.
Pull the blighter off! He's joking me!
You kill old police.
It's all right, Bertie. I've got his arm. He won't knife you.
He's joking me!
Come on! Get away from him, you brute!
Oh, thanks, Holbein.
You're not old, Marty, I kill.
Help me, Algier. He's strong. How are you going with that knife, Jit?
Nearly got it.
Tida, no, you police. Come for light try, no get him, I had stop. I was hired kill.
Look out, Biggles. I've lost my hold.
The knife. He's going for the knife, Jit.
Hey, no, you don't. Watch out, everyone.
Now it prang. I had kill, Marty, kill. Go back, light try. I had kill these men, then I'll take you.
Give me that parang.
Tuan, the police, they come to take light try.
They are my friends. The police who fly like the birds, the ones of whom I told you.
Oh, then I had do bad thing.
Who is this man, Lai? Why did you set on us like that?
This is Ayat, my bosun. He insisted on accompanying me to England to protect me from such as you. You will agree his protection is most adequate?
Sizzling sausages, yes. So are his hands. The belly great lump of meat nearly throttled me.
It is his parang, his knife, of which you should most beware. Ayat is famed throughout the Malayan Peninsula for his efficiency with the parang.
Well, if you hadn't turned up, he'd have been famous in England for it.
Oh, I do bad thing. I had not know.
You protected your master, Ayat. For that you should be commended.
Like I forgive.
For your loyalty to my person, you are forgiven. The stupidity will be remembered.
I had happy. I had not stupid. Never no more.
See that your vow is not forgotten. You will remain here in the corridor, and if there are more visitors, you will warn me of their approach. You will not attack them as if you were in your native jungle.
Yeah, Tuan, yeah.
And now, my good friends, please honor me by accepting such humble hospitality as I can offer. I shall prepare tea.
No, there isn't time for that, Lai. We've come to take you to Scotland Yard.
Scotland Yard? You arrest Lai Chai?
I have given you my word that you won't be molested until your proposition has been fully considered by our government. That still holds. But then Assistant Commissioner Raymond wishes to discuss it with you. We're due there in 10 minutes.
At Scotland Yard. This Raymond, what man is he? How can I tell he will be as honest as my friends?
He knows I've given my word. While he doesn't approve, he'll honour it.
I do not wish to enter Scotland Yard.
I'm sorry, but it's your only chance of having this considered. I can do no more than pass it on to Raymond, and he won't act until he's gone into it with you. If you refuse this lie, you'll be a wanted man.
And there will be no peace for Lai Chai, no villa in Singapore. I shall go with you. I know I shall be safe because you tell me so.
I'll be frank with you, Lai Chai. I don't like the thought of dealing with you. Don't like it a bit. Has Bigglesworth told you that?
I have been acquainted of your attitude.
But he seems to think you're honest, and there's no trick attached to this.
I wish to do business, and in business we Chinese esteem our honor. I shall deliver to your representatives 5,000 tons of crude rubber. In return, my peaceful future will be guaranteed by your government. There will be no tricks on either side.
It's not for us to decide about the payment, but I want details of the rubber. Where is it?
It's on an island in the Magui archipelago.
Which island?
One which is within a short sailing distance of the Pakchan River. More than that I shall not tell at this stage.
The Pakchan River, the border of Siam and Burma. It's rather a hot spot these days.
There is little peace in the area. Much of the mainland and many of the islands are in the hands of rebellious elements. Many of them well armed and equipped with modern fighting weapons, ships and planes.
What's that? We had some trouble with submarines down there a few months ago, and I thought we'd wiped it out.
There are powerful nations behind the rebels, Commissioner. They wish their servants to succeed in overthrowing the authorities in their lands. Therefore, they supply them with the necessary equipment.
I see. Maybe our intelligence people know more of this than I do. I'll discuss it with them. The situation down there may make the collection of the rubber difficult.
There is no activity in that part of Asia which is not difficult. At one time, we free traders watched only for the British gunboats. Now there are so many complications.
Free traders? Pirates, you mean?
Each to his own way, Commissioner. Now, the rubber.
Yes, well, supposing we did agree to accept it, could you deliver it to say, Singapore?
Alas, I have no longer the means to do that. A ship belonging to the rebel dogs destroyed my junk. My men are employed in the building of a new one, but it is not yet complete.
Then we'd have to get it ourselves. All right. There are 5,000 tons of rubber on an island somewhere near the mouth of the Pak Chan. You can't deliver it, but if we can get a ship past the bandits, you're willing to hand it over, right?
There is an omission. I am willing to deliver it to your representatives if I am guaranteed.
Yes, this business of dropping the charges. Well, I can make no promise, Lai, but I shall pass on the information to the government.
I may expect soon an answer.
Bigglesworth will act as our liaison. I'll let him know as soon as a decision's been reached. That's all I can do. Good night. Well, I've seen the minister, Biggles.
How did he react, sir? Will they play?
You seem remarkably eager about this.
Yes, as a matter of fact, I am, sir. I've grown to rather like old Lai Chai. And I admire the way he risked everything to come to England with his proposition. The way he's sticking to his guns now he's here.
Well, the government refuses to bargain with him.
What's that?
He's a pirate, and they feel he's trying to force their hand, virtually bribing them into winking at the law.
Yes, of course he is, but it isn't much to ask.
On the other hand, they are greatly interested in obtaining the rubber, so much so that they intend to have it.
Without giving him his freedom? But I say, sir, that isn't fair.
I pointed that out to the minister, and I supplied him with some facts I'd ferreted out from our wartime files. You know, Biggles, your friend Lai Chai had quite a good war record.
I'm not surprised at that.
While he didn't actively cooperate with the Navy, he and his pirates carried on a sort of seagoing guerrilla warfare against the Japs, apparently with quite a deal of success.
What are you getting at, sir?
In view of that, and the fact that no crimes had been listed against him since the war, the government has agreed to forget Lai Chai's earlier transgressions. Mind you, Biggles, there's no question of this being payment for the rubber.
Oh, no. Of course not, sir.
Yeah, well, that's the minister's story, anyway. Well, now, the collection of the rubber's a different matter. That presents tremendous problems.
Yes, I've been thinking about that, sir. Surely we could send a ship under escort of a couple of destroyers and pick it up without any trouble.
And what happens if these bandit forces attack?
Well, they're beaten off.
After a fair-sized engagement with His Majesty's forces. Lai Chai was right. There's a strong concentration of rebel forces in the Pak Chan region, and they are well supplied with planes and even one or two naval vessels. They'd be certain to attack our ships, and that wouldn't do.
Why not? As far as we're concerned, they're as much pirates as Lai Chai and his blokes.
True, but they aren't operating in British territory. Both Burma and Siam are independent states, and although some of the islands of the area are British, the government doesn't feel inclined to start any incident which may cause an international flare-up. And that's exactly what these rebels would make of it.
You don't mean we're going to crawl out meekly because of a spot of danger?
Not at all. Your team is going to collect the rubber.
Us? Oh, but good grief, sir, it isn't our job. We aren't equipped for it.
You're well equipped for a quiet behind-the-scenes job, such as the government wishes to make of this.
Yeah, but how are we going to carry it away? 5,000 tons needs shipping.
You'll use planes. What planes and what method, I don't know, but the entire operation's been tossed back into your lap, old man. You have full authority to do anything within reason. But within reason means the complete avoidance of any incident which may stir up a war.
Whose idea was this, sir?
I really don't know. Somebody must have suggested your name to the minister. And I had complete confidence in you when I did. Now, I suggest you take one of the amphibians and whip out there on a reconnaissance immediately. When you know what you need, let me have the details. Good luck, Biggles. It's all yours now, man.
There's the first island of the archipelago coming up now. We better have Lai Chai in here to guide us.
There's plenty of time. His island's near the Pak Chan River. We won't hit that for another hour yet.
It'll be like old times operating down here again. Remember the submarine base on Elephant Island?
Yes, and from what Biggles says, we may find the area even hotter than it was then. Apparently these rebels have swarmed in all over the plain. Now, drop down a bit, Ginge. There's some sort of activity on that hill over there. Let's see what's going on.
looks like a village of some sort. Or rather an old service establishment with those lines of huts.
Yes, and there are probably more of them, with the old camouflage still hiding. Suffering
What
cats!
the blazes?
It's flak! There's an AK gun down there. Lift her, Ginge, gain height! The biters will shoot us to pieces!
The nose of the plane tilts upwards, but already there are shells bursting all round it. Can Ginger fly clear in time? What is in store for the flyers in these rebel-infested islands? Don't miss the next exciting chapter of The Air Adventures of Biggles!